Hey, folk. I'm late, but I'm here. I'm finally here. And we have a situation. Okay. I will take care of that in just a moment. Anyway, welcome. Rather late. Sorry. Not always feeling good, so I don't usually have sugar. So that'll help with the stomach. Hi. Welcome to whoever came in. Welcome to the late show. It's not the late show, though, so that's probably a good thing. Okay, let me get rid of that glare. Let's see if we can deal with this. If I do that, that means I gotta have this on. There we go. Makes it quite a bit darker in here, however. Gets rid of the glare. Okay. I'm here. I'm here. Okay. Do that. And that. All right. I'm finally here. Put on lip gloss so that I can actually talk without my lips being dry. It's not lip gloss. Okay. Welcome. Okay, a little bit of business. My apologies. Okay. Which makes sense. No one's here. Someone's here. I don't know. Let me know if you're here. It's one of those days, folks. I need to have headphones because I do better. Ouch. There we go. Oh, that's better. Although the hair sucks. Anyway. It doesn't have to be right now. Okay. Yeah, that is better on the ears. Please let me know if you can see me. No, that's not working. There we go. What the hell? Anyway, whoa. Anyway, hopefully this is live. Hopefully you can see me. I think I better check. Let's see if it actually is, if you can actually see and hear me. Ooh, that would be bad. Okay, all kinds of problems at the moment. Yes. Okay, so it is live. That's good to know. Okay. So welcome. Like I said, very late and not feeling the greatest, but I'm here. Anyway, I've gotten used to saying, what do you guys want to talk to? And it's not that kind of a night. It's not that kind of a night right now. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about, yay, thank you, Drew. I appreciate that, letting me know that you can see and hear me. Atlantis and ETs and spirits. Go check out Jessica Jones's The Cryptid Huntress from last night, her episode that she did with, oh no, I don't remember the gentleman's name. It was a very interesting show. Highly recommend it. Oh, Barry, oh, I'm not remembering his last name right now. Anyway, it was a rather interesting show. It did buffer? Oh, that's interesting. Anyway, so Barry Browning? No, that can't be right. Anyway, he did a interesting talk about a wide variety of things. Some things kind of surprised me because I had commented in chat about a number of things. One of them being the Atlantean spheres. And for me, I've talked about those before, but they were also talking about crystals, and crystals do have energy in them, especially the Atlantean spheres. He was saying that they all came from Earth. No, not all of them came from Earth. That much I know. Excuse me, I was in charge of them. I should have known. Pardon me. So, not all of them did. There were many of them that did come from Earth, but not all of them. So I disagree with that. But I mean, everybody's got a different experience, and it's based on what they know. Hey Derek, my day is been interesting. Anyway, so interesting to say the least. Anyway, okay, that's gotta stop. There, that's better. So basically, the spheres were gigantic. I mean, like truly gigantic. I have described those before. Hi, folks. Come on in. Grab a cuppa. Or dinner. For some folks, it's dinner time right now. Other folks, they're just getting up. Their morning time. So either way, come on in, have a seat, join the live streaming, and chat away if that's what you want to do, or just sit and listen. Welcome to Restore Belief. Restore Belief with Nikki. I'm Nikki. Hello. 7:22 p.m. here. Yeah, see, it's different for everybody. I'm on the west coast of the United States, and right now it's 4:22 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I know a lot of people that are on the east coast of the States. So, and then I know folks in England and Germany and Australia. I had to think about that a minute. Something Files did a video, the Y Files did a video last night on Lemuria and their war with Atlantis. To be honest, I don't remember about that at this moment, although now that it's been said, I might. I never know what I end up remembering. I mean, it's just I remember a lot of different wars that I was in different lifetimes. In one very long and tedious lifetime, I was head of the Atlantean security. That was interesting. Good to know, Derek. Thank you. I appreciate that. He says it's a must-watch video. It was really good. Yeah, I'll check it. I'll check it out this weekend. But yeah, there were so many things that went on in Atlantis. The view that I think of most is walking from the security section through a number of doorways, through a number of passageways, through a number of doorways, and then out into the open. And the open reminds me very much of Greece and a number of other countries that are now that where you've got like whitewashed buildings. Atlantis was very much like that. I remember things being very crisp and white. Not everything was like that, but many buildings were. There were buildings that had some bits of blue, like Greece does with like the Greek flag. But there were also other colors that were used. The Atlantean crystals, we had like pillars. I don't know how else to describe them, but some of them had statues. They had a form of a pillar at the bottom, at the base or around the base, that were quite tall, and then you'd have some kind of statue on it, which I don't remember all the statues, but the artwork on the statues was just phenomenal. That I remember. And smooth. There were nothing that would cut a hand. So if you put your hands across it and ran your hands over every statue, they were not sharp. They were smooth. I mean, like really smooth. And then above that, you would have on many of the pillars that were like that, you'd have specific kind of most of them were oblong crystals. They're a type of crystal that that in the I call it the office. It's not the office, but in the secure room, you'd have these globes, not globes, but these spheres. And security would put out different warnings for different things, or different tones and sounds and frequencies for different things. So like, you know how England had air raids, the sound of that, these were not obnoxious like that. I mean, but they were warning sounds, or like a tsunami warning sound, like on the Washington coastline, you've got the tsunami posts with the sound, the emergency warning sound, that kind of stuff. It's nothing like that. Not shrill, not obnoxious, but definitely a warning sound. And you have different tones for different levels of security. And it was interesting because they had different kinds of, you want to talk Big Brother? Atlantean security was very much Big Brother-ish. We had devices that were clear. I don't know how else to call them. And funny enough, the ETs that have abducted me, they have that kind of stuff. They've got that kind of technology. It's like glass, but it's not glass, but yet it's completely see-through. And there's some kind of device. It's very fascinating to me. But you'd have these, it's like they'd come down in front of you, and it would be like a wall size, and it would have different sections, kind of like what it's along the only way I can describe it is it's along the lines of Lots of TVs on a giant screen. It's real similar to what some of the stuff that we have now regarding tech, how certain kinds of tech work, but this was all done via your personal energy working with the spheres. And the spheres, the ones in the security head office, lack of better phrasing, but room, it was a very specific kind of room. And the lighting was fascinated me about the lights. But anyway, or it fascinates me now about the lights. But anyway, so you'd have all of this stuff regarding the security sections and your own physical energy of your body. Your own frequency was the control mechanisms of these spheres. And they had forms of cameras, but they're not what we humans would classify as cameras. I don't remember the fine details of that. If I hear it, I'm sure it'll go, yep, that's right. Or if somebody tries to talk about it and they're absolutely lying up a blue streak, I'll call nope, call bullshit. Because gut instinct that's gut instinct for me. That's not just psychic instinct. That's guttural. I was there. My body instinctively knows. And there's only a few people that I've ever come across in this lifetime that can talk to me that I know were there, that can describe to me very specific, detailed, oriented, that I'm like, I don't remember that, but I remember this, and tiny bits of what you're talking about. And then they'll say something and it'll trigger a gigantic flashback for me. And I'll go, whoa, okay. And I see, and it's different. My psychic stuff is different than my lifetime memories. Very different. So it's not me having a psychic flash or a psychic vision of what they're talking about. It's actual, I'm actually there. I'm not in like a third person or a head on a swivel, higher consciousness. I was there. So you get a lot of really rather fascinating things regarding Atlantean stuff. I do remember there was an extensive amount of security. I had a gigantic security team, different sections of security team. The council members, the authorities of Atlantis, the Atlantean authorities were a piece of work, to say the least. You think all the countries of this planet, of Earth, are having issues now? Ain't nothing compared to dealing with the Atlantean council, head councils. And I'm calling them head councils. They had a name. I do not remember the name right now. I don't care to remember it. They were a piece of work to work with. Let's just put it that way. I had my hands full. And I had to abide by the laws of Atlantis. I also had a great many different races and species in those races of ETs that were coming and going, because you'd have and the interesting thing is there would be, I know I just cut myself off, but there's a reason for that. there were sections of Atlantis that were used for the ETs. There were also sections of Atlantis. Yes, I do, Derek. There were also sections of Atlantis that were specifically used for trade with the human population. And there were sections of Atlantis where if you did not look and have the appearance of a human being, you were not essentially allowed into the area where trade was going on in the city. Because, what I mean by trade is I mean human trade. There very much was Atlantean trade that was going on with the human population of that era, or whichever. I was going to say whichever era, but that's not exactly right. But anyway, I know the era, but I'm not delving into all that shit. Anyway, there was trade that was going on. And Derek, I'll get into more detail about that in a few minutes. I have talked about that on Thursday. Technically not last night, the night before last, whatever it was. Anyway, Wednesday into Thursday evening. So, and I've listed it. It's in the description box. You can actually see what we talked about, what subjects we talked about. So that delves into a whole nother aspect regarding spirits and crossing over and that kind of stuff. So, but if you want more of that, that's where it's at. But yeah, we had very defined security measures for different sections of the city. Very much like what Washington, D.C. does, very much like what the Kremlin does, very much like what England does for Parliament, but tighter, much tighter security than any of them. So much so that if you were not wearing a specific color on your clothing that designated you, you would not be able to walk through a doorway. What looked like an open doorway, you would be stopped. I mean, you literally could not physically walk through the doorway. There would be the only way I can classify it in our terminology would be like an invisible barrier. You literally could not walk through it. And if they wanted privacy, it would go to a different color. It wouldn't even have to be touched. There would be a certain word or a certain phrase or a certain voice for security that would have control over that. And it would literally create either it could create a number of different factors. It could make it look like a wall. It could make it look like a doorway, like a doorway with doors. It could make it, you could turn it into a window. It could do an enormous amount of designs and make it appear it kind of a lot like a hologram. What we consider as holograms. So yeah, and people tried. There were people that had tried to fool security measures regarding the colors of whether it was cloth, whether it was a piece of jewelry, whether it was some item that they wore on their clothing, or even some sort of what we would call a patch that's actually not a patch. It's like sewn in, but is not a patch. I don't know how else to explain that. That had, well, some of it had some versions of that had holographs in it, and others didn't. But you'd have, gosh, I'm trying to remember all of it. I mean, it's all, I'm trying to pull. I remember a lot of it, but I'm trying to decide which sections I want to pull from regarding the memories. There were sections that where you'd have people trying to fool the security measures, and they couldn't because essentially the colors, if it was clothing, that was embedded in the it's like it was embedded in the fibers of the clothing, embedded in also not just in the cloth, but also in the color of the dye, or what we would consider dye. So, and you'd have, and it was warm. I remember it being warm. I do not remember there ever being snow. We went through seasons, but not what in the United States would consider normal seasons, like spring, summer, autumn, fall, winter. It wasn't like that. But we did have our own. We did have our own seasons. Somebody's literally bringing up tidal waves in my right ear. We did have to watch for tidal wave tsunamis on occasion, not very often, but on occasion. We did have regular earth storms that came through. I remember that there were many sections of Atlantis that wanted to be away from Atlantis, that went out throughout Earth and created different populations. But if they came across what we would now call indigenous people, we had to be very, very careful. It was regarding any of our technology. And many of them went without their technology, but went with the knowledge of technology. So there's that kind of situation as well. And eventually, I know that those locations will be found over time. A lot of them, if they haven't already, and are being hidden by different governments. So, and I'm remembering different pillars right now within the city, within the outlying areas of Atlantis. It's what we would now call wild. You didn't really want to be off of Atlantis. Atlantis had so many different species and races and different animals and mammals and beings that it, for the most part, Atlantis was about love, but at the same time, it wasn't, because you had to deal with the council members, different factions of the council members, whatever. pain in the ass they were. And wow. You break laws, you have serious problems. So anyway, yes, me. We'll talk about that and also in a few minutes, Derek. So he was talking about legs, issues with swollen legs. Anyway, hit me up privately, Derek. We need to have a chat in email, back and forth in email. Seriously, hit me up in email. Speaking of which, ouch, shoulder. Okay, let me make sure I spelled this correctly. Yes. Seriously, hit me up in email. We need to have a conversation. Because that's one where I can. Hey, Christine, how you doing, Chris? That's one, Derek, where we can have a much better conversation in private about that. Or even message me on Facebook. Yeah. Yeah, I know about shredding papers. Ugh, pain in the butt. But I get it. Very necessary, very important thing to do. Anyway, so yeah, the council, and there was a number of different forms of the council, but the higher up councils, whoo, and it's interesting because not a lot. What I've noticed is that not a lot of folks really talk a lot in detail about Atlantis. There's one that does. It just drives me nuts because I'm like, there's some of it that is like, some of what he talks about is bullshit. And yet then others aspects of it is true, and I'm like, wow, okay. But we all have. That's the thing. We all have our own memories of there. We all have our own how we want to remember it. You're downsizing, dear. That's why I'm not doing more lives, is because I'm prioritizing my life and going through boxes and trying to get rid of stuff out of storage. So yeah, I get it. Not fun, not easy, but definitely needed to be done. Um, anyway, so yeah. What else can I tell you about Atlantis? Um, gosh, there's so many different aspects to it. Sorry. Um, there was a dome in part of the city that was just phenomenally beautiful. Not all the buildings were domed. Many of them were, but not all of them. There were some buildings that were considered towers. Um, many buildings were um, 2 and 3 levels. Some were 4, 4 stories, and they're walk-ups, hun. You had walk-ups, a lot of walk-ups. Um, there were not a lot of disableds. Not a lot of old people, though there were people who were disabled. There were people who were older. And by older, oh my God, I'm talking like hundreds of years. We're not like talking 100 years old. We're talking much older. And then you've got different races of ET who were thousands of years old in comparison. What humans consider 1 year is 12 months, but in different races of ETs, you're looking at thousands of years before they're thousands of years before they die. I've seen ETs that look like they're 35 years old, and they're not. They're over 2,500 or a hell of a lot older than that. I had a Laborian that I remember from just a few years ago, and when he told me how old he was, I looked at him and I said, "No," and that was when he literally implanted in my head a memory of, and it wasn't a screen memory; it was a memory of he and I, and part of our lifetime. And as soon as he did that, I started having my own flashbacks, and I went, "Oh my God, I remember you now. I mean, I really remember you now." And he goes, "That's why I wanted to give you my view of what you look like during that lifetime, um, how you were." And he goes, "I was hoping it would trigger, essentially, I was hoping it would trigger your memories." And boy, did it ever. Wow, did it ever. Um, it's still hard for me to wrap my mind around all of this. I still get overwhelmed mentally. There are times where I still very much mentally get overwhelmed with how significant all of this is. I mean, what we teach our human children in comparison to what is actually out there beyond Earth is appallingly small, tiny, minuscule in comparison to what is really out there and what the capabilities really are. We really do a human. What I've been learning in this lifetime is that humans really do a significant disjustice and disservice to our children in what we teach, regarding our sciences, regarding our medical, regarding the human capability of what we are completely capable of. It is mind bending. I've had quite a heck of a time. Um, the concept of some of this has just been shocking, and yet at the same time, I know that what I'm learning is valid and true. And then because of my own memories, I start having flashbacks of lifetimes, and I'm like, holy shit. Like long before I came into being in human lifetimes. And it's a hell of an eye opener. So do I enjoy being human? Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. There are aspects of, maybe some of their lifetime. Sorry, I got a spot right here. It's driving me nuts. Oh. Got a spot that's driving. Sorry. Anyway, gosh, that's bugging me. Wow. So, yeah, I mean, maybe one lifetime I'll go into, something different different race, different species, whatever. But the next couple of lifetimes, I know I'll be human. I've already got that. I already know that is what I planned out. I hate saying it that way, but it's true. Anyhow, okay, I've got to move this because I need this full thing. There we go. I got to get both my legs up. Okay, which means I got to push that back and back there. Okay, that's better. So yeah, it's just you're dealing with Atlantis. You get a lot of different people talking about some really wild and trippy things, and I'm like, wow, okay, some of that I call bullshit on. But then you got to remember, is this from what they remember from their lifetime, or is it from what they have are reading from other people and are parroting things back? These are directly from what I remember from my lifetimes. One specific lifetime, to be specific. Anyway, reading. Sorry, guys. Reading chat. Keep up with chat. Yeah, I remember some of that too, Drew. Drew is just saying, I remember seeing a bunch of stuff on Atlantis from the Discovery Channel back in the 1990s. Yeah, I remember some of those things too, and I'm like, some of it I was like, really? Even back then, and that was before I really started having flashback memories of it. Wow. Oh, so glad I cleaned and washed that out. So anyhow, so that was that's just bits and pieces of some of the things that I know, that I personally know about Atlantis. There's a whole lot more. You had folks like priests or priestesses. So that was interesting. Speaking of which, Derek had asked about something about heaven. So can I ask, in your belief, do you believe in heaven? Yes, I do, and there's a reason for that. From my experiences, and that's where I was talking about, go in and take a look at go in and take a look at what we talked about on, oh God, whatever the Thursday was, the wee morning hours of Thursday, the 24th. So I'm off. I'm off on. I know what day it is, but the date right now is not even conceivable to me. I'm just like, well. But go in and look at August 24th, 2023, that episode that I did for the Nightglow episode. You'll hear me and the chat talking about, well, you'll hear me, but you'll see in chat that we're talking about different dimensions, about higher consciousness, different dimensions, souls, and about religion, and about how that was going to get me into trouble. because of people I know and the beliefs I have, and what I know, what I know to be true versus what I know other people believe. And heaven essentially is what you make it. When you cross over, it is what you think of it as. If you want it glitz and glory, then it's going to be glitz and glory. If you want it as everyday life, but vibrant and vivid and pure love all the time, and no health issues, nothing detrimental in any way, shape, or form, it's going to be that way. It's what if you have a specific religion, it's going to be what you believe it to be. That's what I know. That's what I've experienced from souls that have come back and talked to me. That's what that have crossed over. Crossing over does not necessarily mean that you're going to a heaven. Crossing over is going into pure love. You literally go into a form of pure, total, undeniable, complete love. And that's what that pure white light is. And from what I've been told, not everybody sees the white light. They just automatically go. So then, yeah, go back and listen, Drew. He said I missed that night. I was driving early and making delivery. Go back in and listen. It was an interesting. Look at the description box, and you'll see where the chat, where it really starts in with those discussions, and click on the time of it, and you'll find it. This is why I part out in the description boxes exactly what we're talking about, so that people can do that. Now, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do that. I've done that for months and months and months. I do take the time. It takes me a number of hours. If we're looking at a 2-hour show, it's going to take me 3 hours. 3 or 4 hours. If we're looking at a 4, 5, or 6 hour show, it's going to take me a lot longer. So, because I re-listen to everything that we talk about, and I type it up. And it's because I happen to be one of those people to where, if you're having so many discussions, yeah, you can put a topic at the top of your screen, for your title, your header, but you could end up talking about so many other things. And with the things that I do and deal with, and the things that we all talk about and questions I get asked, a lot of times I go off topic. And if I'm going off topic, I want people to know where they can find it. Your time is valuable. It's important to me that I understand that, and that you can go in and say, I don't want to listen to the entire frickin' show of 2 hours. I want to listen to the section that talks about that. You can do that. And I understand why a lot of shows don't do that. I get it. It takes an enormous amount of time, energy, and effort that you put in. It's really important, and I know a lot of people don't feel that way. A a lot of people don't see it as a need. I do. I'm one to where I don't want to spend 3 hours searching for a section of, because my time is valuable too. I want to listen, but there's so many aspects to it. And the other thing is that you're dealing with a lot of content. And shows are, I mean, if you like the person or the people that are on the show that are talking, you're going to want to listen. It's going to draw you in anyway. You're going to want to listen to them and what they have to say, because what they have to say is important to you in some fashion or form. And I'm great with that, but at the same time, there are just days where I don't have 3 hours to listen to an entire show. Because I'm trying to get my other things done. And especially if they're showing stuff on the broadcast, the show, if I'm listening to something that is in my living room and I'm in the kitchen, trying to get stuff done, I don't want to come running in. I want to know, so I want to know where things like that kind of stuff is at, and I want to spend my time in a quality way, in a fashion that I can get as much done as I possibly can. And not everybody does that, and I get that. Believe me, I totally freaking get it. Radio shows, I mean, you could have a radio show, it's not visual. Hello, made that way by design. Long before we ever had video. So yeah, for me, it's just, I understand if you're not going to want to, you don't have that kind of time, and you want to see exactly what was talked about, you can go through the description box and say, oh, they're talking about this. Oh, they're talking about that. I got people that have come to me going, I don't want to listen to the entire thing. Where's the time frame from the beginning to the end of what you talked about? Where's that at in your show? I'm like, you're going to have to go to that specific day, look at the description box, and it'll tell you in there. I can do that now. I couldn't do that in the beginning because I didn't know that was one of the things that I could do. Actually, I didn't know that until I saw another channel do it. And I was like, oh my God, yes, that's what I need to do. And it works out because I've got business people who like to listen to what I'm talking about and the subjects, but they don't have the time. They're working 8 in the morning until 7 at night, with a 1 hour break for lunch, or longer than that, and they literally do not have the time. And all they're like, what's the time frame of the subject matter? And I can actually go in and give them the time slot, look at it between this and that, and there's the information that you're looking for. And it's very powerful for them to be able to do that, because then they get the info and they're like, thank you. And there are a lot of times I get thanked very much for that. So what's another reason why I do it is I do it for folks that are so busy, that they don't have that kind of time. I used to be that way before my back injury, before the first back injury of 2008. And you wouldn't have, I wouldn't have been doing, I would be listening, but I wouldn't have anything like that up. So, for watching, for viewing, or anything like that. So it made things interesting. So that's one of the reasons why I do it, because there are folks that are dealing with work. They just want to listen in. And there you go. Anyway, So Derek, go back into the description box of August 24th, 2023, and you'll find more of an answer, more of an elaborate discussion of it. So I'm trying to think of what else I can tell you about that. Let's see, where did I leave off at? Which video feeds? Then I don't know if there's been recent UFO news for the past few weeks. Haven't watched SOR in a while. Yeah, there is, but it's people are going after Grush and just in a number of different ways. Chris, Nikki, I think it's great that you write that all out, but it's a lot of work. Yeah, it is. It is a lot of work. Helpful though. Drew, Thursday early morning. Sovereign, hey Sovereign. Dave downplayed the DEWS massacre in Lanai, Maui. I'm pretty pissed. You mean the fires? Yeah, I wasn't. I didn't see SOR last night. I crashed. I'd been up way too long, so I didn't get to see SOR. And Wednesday, I did manage to see the 2-hour time slot where on Wednesday where Paul and SyAnn Hamden were on, and that was pretty good information, pretty impressive information. So yeah, I don't watch a lot of news, but I do know about that. Welcome to the folks who are coming in. Grab a cuppa, whatever you wanna. Dinner. Hope you're enjoying your meal, whatever meal time it is for you, whether it's nighttime for you or afternoon or morning breakfast. So I hope you are enjoying your meal and getting a chance to relax or getting a chance to relax just before you start your day. So we talked about Atlantis already, kind of going through different things. Before I forget, again, Derek, you had asked me, I can't remember how you phrased it, but it was something about legs. Let's see if I can find it again. Have you ever known anyone to have swollen legs and then they get completely healed from it? Yes, me. And I've been to doctors recently, not much help. Yeah, anytime I get a sinus, ear, throat, lung infection, any kind of infection, my legs swell. The doctors don't really deal with it well. They kind of poo-poo it off and belittle it, which I get really pissed off over. The only way that I know for me personally to deal with that, and they haven't done blood work. The only time I've had blood work that kind of blood work done was when they thought I had a DVT, deep vein thrombosis. Hang on a second, I'm going to move this. My leg is hitting the table again. Deep vein thrombosis, and which is a what is known as a blood clot in the leg. And I had all kinds of blood work done up one side and down. So many vials of blood came out of me that day, or rather that night. White cell count goes up. Okay, I want to go back down. I don't want to miss any more. So, one of the things that I learned with my mom was that her white cell count stays up, and when it goes, it's at a level that always stays up. Her legs are always swollen, but she's at a new baseline. She's no longer she hasn't been for a lot of years. She's at a stabilized baseline that they consider her new baseline, and it's her white blood cell count. And so when that goes up, she has an infection and her legs swell, and that's what happens with me. And so what I've learned for me personally, what I do to deal with that is I do what I call herbal antibiotics. Now, the FDA and everybody else on the metal, they freak out when this kind of stuff is talked about. So I got to be really careful. But for me, what I do is look into, I think I should probably phrase it this way, look into oregano and sage. Look into golden seal and astragalus. Look into grapefruit seed extract. Look into certain homeopathics. High amounts of look into garlic. You got to keep your immune system good, and if you can keep your immune system good, that'll help you a lot. And so one of the things that, and I'm going through a situation with right up in here, I've got some kind of infection in my left ear and into my sinuses. It's gotten better because I've really dealt with it in a very specific way. Also look at Manuka honey, pure, raw, real Manuka honey. You're looking at $58 a container that's about yay big. So maybe 3 inches tall. Very, very expensive stuff. Yeah, Derek or Sovereign is saying astragalus is one of my many supplements. Yeah. So look into things like that. Now there are things that you need to know, and you need to do your research on this. Yeah, make sure if you're drinking tart cherry juice every day, make sure it's got no sugar in it. You can actually, okay, here's a trick that I learned. You can actually unsweetened tart cherry juice with unsweetened black cherry juice, because the unsweetened black cherry juice, but you got to be careful, and that helps get rid of. And we found this out because of a family member. We had a naturopath who said to somebody in my family, "You're having uric acid in your knee. Start drinking unsweetened black cherry juice." And the black cherry juice gets rid of uric acid in the body. And so they started doing that, and they didn't have any more problem. But what I learned, in order to get down so that I'm not sweetening up tart cherry juice and getting sugar in, and sugar causes yeast and bacteria to feed on it and all this other shit. And I'm no medical doctor by any stretch. This is why I say do your own research, folks. You gotta do your own research. Talk to your medical staff. Talk to your naturopathic staff. Do your own research. You got to be an advocate for yourself. But yeah, I learned the hard way in order to sweeten it up without, and you don't want, if you got insulin resistance, you got to be real careful with juices, but because it is a form of sugar, natural sugar, but sugar. So, that's one way you can sweeten your own juice up is by using unsweetened black cherry juice for unsweetened tart cherry juice. Anyway, so Manuka honey, any honey needs to be raw. A lot of honey is fake that is going out on the market, which really is a pisser. Go to your local bee person. I can't think of what that's called right now. State. Silly, stupid thing. Seriously. State. But go to your people who have the beehives. Apiary. Go to your local apiary person and find out what they charge per, and also find out exactly where the pollen is. That's a big deal, because bees go a certain amount of miles for their pollen. So they go a certain amount and return. So your folks who are doing the local honey, they will know where their bees are typically getting their pollen from. But yeah, raw honey is really freaking important. There's I'm in Washington State, and my son one year bought me a very small jar. It was expensive, but a very, very small jar of lavender honey. And it had the lavender in it. It had the raw lavender with the flowers, with the inside on the sticks, inside the honey. It was some of the best honey I have ever had, which is saying something because I've had a lot of different honey in my lifetime, and it really was. And we were on, oh God, we were either on San Juan Island or Orcas Island at the time. I don't remember which. And it must have been that. I think that was the Orcas Island trip, which would have been January of 2022. And it was phenomenal. I think there's like maybe a tablespoon, if that, left of that honey. It was really, really good. Yeah, even they've been even Manuka honey comes out of it's either Australia or New Zealand. I don't remember which. And you've got to be careful because there is fake Manuka honey on the market now. So just be real careful what company you're buying from, but know that Manuka honey, and it's scientifically proven that Manuka honey helps with, and you can do your own research on this. You don't take my opinion from this. This is my opinion, but yet I've done some of the research. So do your own research. Take a look into it. But they've, in those two countries, in Australia and New Zealand, they have scientifically done the testing, done why is Manuka honey so specific again as an antibacterial. It's incredible. Look into it, folks. Really good stuff. Very, very expensive, but for a very valid, good, excellent reason. Comes from pollen off of the Manuka trees, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it goes into a lot of info. But yeah, Manuka honey is really good. When I make up a recipe, an herbal recipe, a liquid herbal recipe, or to ingest, or a herbal recipe that is for salves, like making a salve, I will put Manuka honey in it. Because it is not usually a lot, but I will put a little bit of Manuka honey in the salve formulation because it is so healing. It protects it. It deals with the skin barrier. It's really important stuff. Anyway, yeah, Drew. Yes, I take grapeseed extract along with certain meds. Excuse me. And yes, garlic, Ceylon, cinnamon, good for blood sugar. Yeah, it's not just good for blood sugar. There's a bunch of things that specific cinnamon is excellent for. Um, One of the things that I do personally is I take a capsule of cayenne pepper and a capsule of cinnamon daily. Um, for me, it helps a great deal. And then I eat raw ginger and I eat raw garlic every single day without fail. Mostly because the ginger, mostly because it doesn't just help with my digestion, it also helps with, for me personally, uh, inflammation. And then I also take specific types of mushrooms, turkey tail mushroom, lion's male mushroom, and then there's a 17 species blend mushroom capsules that I take. And I take those every day, and it has made a significant difference in how my brain functions, in how my immune system is. Um, Oil of oregano is really good. Uh, you can create, and don't get, if you're buying. Oh, I didn't expect to get into this conversation today. If you're buying herbs, get organic. Um, Still wash them, still dry them, pat them dry, and still air dry them after you've even patted them dry. Um, Use the fresh ones. You can use dried, but don't do the store bought. The stuff that sits. Oh, I don't have the bottles out anymore. Damn. Um, the stuff that sits in the store bottles, the little square store bought bottles on the seasoning racks in your grocery stores, those have been there a while, folks. They've been in those jars quite a while. Get yourself some fresh stuff. Um, Go to an herb store. They're the best. There's two. I know one of them is still in operation. The Herbalist in Seattle. Best herbal store in Washington State, in my opinion. Um, there's two of those branches now. They had one that was originally in the U District of Seattle, and now they've got one in downtown Seattle up on the hill. I can't think, Capitol Hill, and it's been there a while. Um, the Herbalist bulk herbs you're going to get, and they're dried herbs usually, and they will also make up bottles of tincture, or they used to make up bottles of tinctures for you, specific to your own recipes if you want. I make up my own. I get my herbs either from people I know who grow them, fresh, or I'll buy them at different local stores. And it's a really big deal. Get yourself into that process. Know where your herbs are coming from being grown to you buying them. It's a big deal. You can make up all of your own. Matter of fact, one of the things that I do when I make up an alcoholic tincture, because the tinctures are alcohol, made out of alcohol, and the glycerites are made out of glycerin, food grade glycerin. I used to buy 1 gallon jugs of food grade back in the 90s and early 2000s. I used to buy 1 gallon jugs of food grade glycerin to create my own herbal glycerites. Because I had a kid at the time, and if he got sick, then he'd have so many drops out of this glycerite bottle or that one or whatever. Now they finally come out with so many different things that can help kids. It's so different now. So different. 30 years later, so many things have finally changed out on the open market. It's not as difficult to get certain things and to keep kids healthy, and keep their immune systems good. And one of the things that I used to do back then for my kid was we used to have it was called Beta A plus. They don't even make it anymore, which just I practically cry every time I think about it. But Beta A plus was beta carotene. It was a form of beta carotene, and back in the day, one of those capsules, we used to take a quarter of one of those capsules and fill up a container of juice, pretty good sized container of juice, and with 1/4 of one of those capsules, and it dissolved right in, or it would have little tiny orange red flecks, orangish red flecks, and it helped to boost my son's immune system, and it was phenomenal. Worked wonders. It was really, really good. Now I wouldn't have a clue as to what to do with kids regarding that kind of stuff, because so many things have changed. Although I take that back, there are certain things that I do know that they can and still can have, and some that they still shouldn't. But anyway, and see, yeah, somebody got me babbling on the herbs. Anyway, yeah, so do your own research. Look into sourcing, as we used to call it back in the day. Who your source is, where they're sourcing their products and their ingredients from. How are they sourcing it? Is it organic? Is it quality? It's a big deal, really big deal. So that will probably stay forever within me, regarding making sure that I continue with the herbs and supplements and different things. So I'm trying to think of just saw your comment, Sovereign. I'm going into listening mode. Got to do a lot of things. Only a couple of days off this week. See, that's what I'm talking about. You know, just turn it on, turn the volume up, and set the phone somewhere where you can hear it. There's nothing I'm going to be showing today. So, well, I mean, product placement. grapefruit seed extract. Highly recommend this company for their grapefruit seed extract. Grape leaf is another one to look into. I cannot show the one I've got because that's a safety issue for me. Big safety issue for me. But anyway, look into grape leaf extract, grape leaf, dehydrated grape leaf. Find out information on that kind of stuff. Vitamin D3 is another one. Got to boost the immune system. Just do your research. Vitamin D, liquid D3. This is not my favorite company, but I'm going to put this up there. Slippery elm extract. Now I know people that get really super pissy about me talking about slippery elm. I don't give a shit. Deal. Can't deal, then shut it off. Slippery elm extract. Some people go, oh, that tastes so gross. Oh my God, I'll never use it. Well, you don't have to frickin' taste it. Put it in an empty capsule. You can put a liquid in an empty capsule. No joke. It'll last for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes. Slippery on Elm Street? Oh no. Hey, hello. But slippery elm, if you're having problems digesting whatever in your stomach and you don't like the taste of this, it will help your stomach and no more nausea. Then why are you bitching? Are you going to bitch about everything? Seriously. You find alternative ways of taking different things. If you know it's going to help, you find a different way of taking it. So I used to take, when I couldn't, I can handle the taste of it now. It's not the greatest, but I can handle the taste of it now. I used to put it in an empty double-aught capsule. Aught. Double. It's 2 zeros. 0, 0. With parentheses around it. Around the 2 zeros. And it'll look like quotation marks. And I would put slippery elm in a capsule, put the cap on, take it. And the stomach acid in the stomach dissolves the capsule right away. You'll start feeling better. I mean, at least for me, this is what I personally do if I get an upset stomach. I don't and have not talked about this one. This one is my very first time I'm talking about this one. And this is an old dusty bottle. Well, it's not. Oh yeah, it's old. It's going to take me forever to use this one. I'm not going to talk about this other than do your own research. Okay, that's it. Do your own research. I'm not stating that one out loud. Too controversial. Way too controversial. Okay, so enough with the products. Anyway, there's a lot of things that you can create on your own. One of the things, and my son can tell you this because I used to make a lot of herbal tinctures and a lot of glycerites when he was growing up. And put things in honey that aren't so tasty, but to get them done a kid, yeah, that's not fun. So that's why I say there's so many things nowadays that it's so different. You don't have to do that kind of stuff. Yeah, that dark killer werewolf. Yeah. Yeah. He's talking about the bottle I just showed. Anyway, so one of the things that I used to use was a specific kind of alcohol. I started off using vodka because back in the 90s you could not get your hands on, oh no, I can't think of the name of the kind of alcohol. Extremely harshest of the harshest of alcohols there is. See if I've got it in products. File folder called products. Nope, but of course I don't. Shoot. Anyway, so you get quite the Everclear. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Everclear, back in the 90s, you could not get Everclear without having a medical license or a pharmaceutical license or something, because it was so strong. And that's what a lot of 190 proof, yes, hollow. Very, very strong. It's the strongest, at least back then. And back then I thought it was 200 and something proof. Very, very difficult back then to get your hands on. And yeah, I used to know people that made, he says, the same as absinthe. I haven't had absinthe in years. But I used to know somebody that, yeah, wormwood was the same. Yeah, wormwood. Yeah, same. See, my kid knows. Taught my kids about herbs and different things. But anyway, but I also taught the importance of doing your extensive research. And so we used vodka. And vodka was, I think, 90 proof back then. And the strongest, it was the strongest that you could get over the counter at the time. And then sometime in the 2000s, early 2000s, they took the restriction off of it and made it to where you could use it, buy it at a liquor store. Yes. I think you were 22 when we did our first shot together of absinthe. So yeah, it's 21 or 22. I can't remember which. Anyway, or 23. Anyway, so it has been some time. The stuff that they put out on the market for absinthe, though, I do have to say that is some of the cheapest ass stuff. The flavor isn't even. And you got to be careful with wormwood. Anyway, I used to have a girlfriend that back in the 90s used to talk about. She had family members and friends who used to make absinthe out of Everclear. And I can't remember how they got their hands on Everclear, but that's a story for a different day. But anyway, and it was the original where you had to put it over the sugar cube and all of this because it had a very, very specific kick to it. And you had to be very, very careful and knew what the hell you were doing and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so the stuff that they make now, they take a lot of different things out of it. And basically, you're going for the flavor and not the alcohol. I mean, the alcohol is so minor in it in comparison. But yeah, and you got to be careful with wormwood. Wormwood is a totally different ballgame. There are a couple of different types of wormwood, actually. And that's a different subject. Anyway, but always, 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 always do your own research. Regarding spirits, so we're supposed to be having a conversation about ETs. Atlantis did that. ETs haven't done that. Spirits talked about heaven. Although I do have to say that absinthe, that it had a really good flavor to it. I was really disappointed about the kick, but it had a really good flavor to it. Anyway, so the ETs, there's so many races, and one of the things that one of I'm not repeating that one. I'm not repeating that one, dear. Anyway, somebody just said I was a cool mom. Oh my God. I don't know if I know people. I don't know if they'd agree with you on that. Oh my God, that's a different subject. Anyway, I'm not commenting on that one either, dear. Nope, 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 nope. I know. Aliens. um, anyway, yeah, trying to get me back on track. You got me sidelined, dude. Oh, so what I was going to say was SyAnn from last night, she had talked about there's 26 different races of the Greys. And yeah, I mean, I always say 15, but that's from Keith. Keith talks about that, but I know that it's a whole lot more, and I know that it's actually more than 26. I just know that it's a lot. That's what I know regarding the Greys. It's a lot. And I know that there are folks in ufology who talk about that are very, very famous in ufology, have done their own movies, have done their own conferences. They're in for the money, honey, the bling. That's what I say to that. Anyway, they have talked about I'll get to that in a minute, Chris. They have all talked about how the Greys are electronically controlled and they're robotic. Bullshit. Lies. There are a few, very, very minuscule few in that category. There's so few, in fact, that they're not even worth really discussing. And it just irritates the crap out of me that is what they go off of, and that it's all this. It's that and that alone. Bullshit. You're full of shit. Those are lies. Itty bitty, teeny tiny, minuscule fraction. Are they real? Yes. Are they biological? In my classification, 50-50. 50 biological, 50 mechanical. But they're so minuscule in the amount of them that to classify and claim that that's all there is, you're full of shit. Okay. That said, okay, so Chris, are the majority of Greys assholes? Or maybe about half or less than half? I'm a newbie to the topic. Okay. So, oh, that's interesting. Are the majority of Greys assholes? No. Many, not all, but many of them are legalistic. Not all of them are that way, but many of them are. Somebody's asking me a percentage. Somebody on the other side's asking me a percentage. I'm not going to put a percentage to it because I don't know how to. I wouldn't know how to put a classification of a percentage on the amount. I know that it's not a lot, but I know that it's a good percentage. But yet at the same time, there are such as the Zetas who are not like that at all. And they're not the ones that I deal with. I got 3 different races that have abducted me. One of them, actually 2 of them haven't abducted me in a very, very, very long time. Although there is one that is consistent. They're a form of a Grey. They're what I would, in my terminology, would classify them as a hybrid of a Grey. But not all are like that. Zeta reticuli. Yeah, Zeta. Not beta, Zeta. Chris is asking questions. Yeah, that's very possible. Replaying the last thing I heard on my computer before I went to bed at night. That can happen. There's a couple of things that I don't do anymore. That's one of them. And I don't, for me personally, I don't do that anymore because what I feed my brain before I go to bed, and I do mean feed because literally what you watch and what you listen to when you are in the process of falling asleep can play on your mind when you're asleep and can cause some problems. And for somebody like me, I learned early on that I can't do that. Although I do have to say that one of the ways that I aced many of my tests in high school was recording myself, and all of those tapes are gone now, so don't even freaking ask. Somebody was being a smartass and just commented on that. I used to record myself. I used to record all the information that I could not study enough of for the test, whatever kind of exam it was. And I used to record that into a tape recorder and listen to it on a Walkman. And I would repeat the information on, because each tape was 45 minutes aside. And so I'd get myself into a relaxation technique. Now it's a different ballgame. Now you've got podcasts, you've got the little iPods and not iPods, that's not what I meant. Something I had, I can't even think of what the hell they're called anymore. because I don't use it anymore. And you could do, as long as it was plugged in, you could do hours and hours upon hours on replay. But yeah, that's one of the ways that I would study my heart out, and then I would record sections and get myself into a get myself into an extremely relaxed state and into a meditative state. Put the headphones on, click play. I would listen to that 45 minutes, and the first 45 would well, Mom had a tape recorder and I had one, so I would do it on both. So all I'd have to do is flip one set of headphones off, put another headphone on, and I'd be on it. So, got a good hour and a half in. And that's how I aced a lot of my tests, that I knew the information, but I couldn't get it to stick. It helped back in the day. I didn't have the greatest of grades, but I got it to where it stuck enough. And I had the information because I was always fascinated by certain subjects, and there were subjects that I was like, bleh. Yeah, so excuse me. So I learned early on, because of doing that in high school, that whatever I listened to, I would end up spewing later on, talking about, oh my God, speaking of the word, I would end up talking about that later on for the whoever I was talking to, and it was like, no, this has become a hassle. So I don't do that anymore. I try really, really hard not to digest information that way. Because it really can play on your brain. You're literally feeding your brain while you sleep. And you got to be careful with that, because your brain needs the rest. It needs the rest, it needs the relaxation, and it needs to release the all the different things that the brain needs to release during the restful sleeping hours of the night. I can't think of the stuff that the brain actually releases while you sleep. Anyway, medical things that take place. But anyhow, so yeah. But regarding aliens, I did want to comment on a specific male individual who's in it for the money, honey. Where they're talking about they're talking about that kind of stuff, and it's full of shit. Where the grays are, all the grays are this bullshit. If you're lumping, that's like lumping all humans are fear factor and fear mongers. Bullshit. No, we're not. We're taught and trained to be in fear. Yes, that I will agree with. There's a lot of reasons we're taught that. But we're not that way all the time. So it's like lumping one breed of dog. Oh my God, it's dangerous. It's this, it's that. No, that boils down to the owner and training, teaching, and different things. So, and the same can be said for Sasquatch. I mean, you get into where, oh my God, all Sasquatch are this and they're all that, and that. No, they're not. No, they're not. So, I get very perturbed, which is putting it nicely, when we start lumping different one different race of being into one specific way. It's bothersome. Anyway, true. Oh my God, she's right about that. I've seen Sasquatch come to me in my dreams looking like monkey sock puppets so they wouldn't scare me. Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. Oh my God. Um, God, that's good. Oh my God, Drew. Oh. Um, anyway, Jesus, that's really good. So anyhow, uh, sorry. That's that. um, there are so many different types of ETs. It's mind bending. Um, I've seen ETs that literally look like they're human. They're definitely not human. Do I know what they look like inside biologically? No, not a clue. Although there are certain, there was something that came up on a very famous psychic's page on Facebook where they were stating that this one image was of a female and her vajayjay was uh, viewable. And um, there are certain races of gray that I do know where they have pouches. Um, there are certain races of ET that I know that also have pouches, not just the gray, for their sexual organs. And I've never seen. Well, no, I can't say that. That's not accurate. I was going to say I've never seen NETs below nether regions, shall we say. Um, and that's not exactly accurate. I have, but I'm not going to describe that. I will not have that discussion publicly with somebody. Um, privately, I've had a couple of conversations, but not full on description of, oh my God, this is what it looked like. Oh my God, da, da, da. No, I'm not gonna go there. Um, although I can say that the ETs that are doing abduction for uh, propagating hybrids. I don't know why it just came up to me that way, propagating. Um, but because I can't call it breeding. Breeding is a very different ballgame. You're having one-on-one contact. Um, and that's a different form of creating hybrids in comparison to what I've been through and experienced. Um, they're very, very good at uh, getting genetic material from a man, and they're very, very good at getting genetic material from a woman. And they force the human brain into different ways to create different reactions in the physical body. They don't manipulate the physical body until they absolutely have to, for retrieval or for other aspects of that. They use the human brain to create the chemical biological reaction from the female and the male, the human female and the male. So that's what I'm going to say on that. And it can be extremely frustrating. Yeah, Drew's talking about alien hybrid blue Pleiadian. Yeah, there are some races I've seen that are blue. There are some that I've seen that are green, and then there are some that have a blue-green, what I would call an overlay, transparent, over Caucasian skin. I don't know how else to classify it as. It makes it very interesting. Then I've seen full-on, I've been in the presence of full-on ETs where they look like a feline, where they look like a cat. I've also seen ones that shapeshift. I've seen ETs that don't shapeshift. They are, you want them at your back to back, fighting you in hand-to-hand combat, because I'm here to tell you, baby, they're good at what they do. They rip you from limb to limb. You gone. And those specific ones resemble they're 8 feet tall, and they semi-reptilian. They sort of look like a reptilian, but they're not. Their skin is kind of leathery. Reminds me of an alligator. That kind of leathery. Not soft either. On the rough side, smooth, but on the rough side. I can't say smooth either, because they've got lumps and bumps, and you feel all the different aspects and things of the skin. You know, when you knees are bent backwards. Well, I call them knees. I don't know what else to call them. The knees they come down forward like ours do, but then they go back, and then those ones in back go forward again, and then they're on like what I would call, lack of a better word, a paw. I've seen ones that are kind of a taupe color, somewhere between a beige and a brown, but more beigey, but taupish. They're not really brown, but they're not really beige. And big and muscle. And I've seen others that don't have that kind of muscle on them. So I've seen, oh man, and the males, oh my God, the males are 9 feet tall. They're a foot taller than the females, bigger in muscle, bigger in brawn. wide, fat, what I would call fingers, digits. I think I'd prefer the word digit than fingers. Now that I think about it, the female, she had 4. The male had. Wait a minute, I gotta think about this a second, because she's standing. Every time I see her in my head, she's on my right side. Well, that's because we were on a platform, but she was on my right side. She had a weapon in her hand. No, she had the 4 fingers. The male had the 3. Because when we got off the platform and she walked, and we had to follow her, and the males were walking by us, on the platform, she had told us not to. Don't look at their eyes. Don't look at their face. And keep your mind clear. Docile. That was the word she used, docile. She said remain as docile as you can. There were phrases. That she used. Because the males, they were very, very aggressive. They didn't like being on the they did not like being. I'm trying to grasp the term, and I can't think of the term she used. She didn't call it a planet, but she didn't call it a ship either. It's a term she used. I can't grasp it out of my head right now. Anyway, the males didn't like being there. They didn't like having to work with the females. They didn't like having to work with the humans. But it was very interesting. The whole scenario with them was very, very interesting. So there's so many. There were short ones, short ETs I've met. There are tall ETs. I don't think I've met an ET that was taller than 10 feet. I'm trying to go back through the different memories. Most of them were tall, relatively thin, 7 feet, 8 feet. For somebody who's 5 foot, you're short comparison. I'm not 5 foot. I'm 5'2", 5'3", somewhere in that. That just depends on which doctor you go to. Oh, you're 5'2" and 3/4. Oh, you're 5'3". Oh, you're 5'2" and whatever. So even at that height, I mean, even if I were 5'11", I would still be considered short. Many of them 6 foot, 7 foot, but most were 7 feet tall. It's like always, oh, hello. So anyway, yeah, and different colors. There was a ET when I was a child who was red. Red with blue-black veins. That was interesting. As a matter of fact, anytime I see, I don't have my glasses in here. Anytime I see a specific movie, Green Lantern. Anytime I see the movie Green Lantern, the ET that dies at the beginning of the movie. If you haven't seen it, sorry. Spoiler. There's an ET that dies at the beginning of the movie. And that, sorry, it's driving me nuts. That ET, the one that comes to Earth, because he's looking for his new Green Lantern buddy, and he finds it in a human. The ET that dies in that scene reminds me very much of the skin and the ET that I first saw. that I thought was reptilian. Because the ET that I first saw was, the ET that I consciously, so I should say that, consciously remember, she was a lot of red, some brown, some taupe, but mostly huge percentage of red with dark blue, black veins popping out over. And yet there was like an overlay, a translucent overlay over her. So there are so many different races and subspecies of ET. It's just mind bending. And so for those that have only experienced one kind, that's what you're going to gravitate and talk about. If you talk about it publicly, if you even talk about it privately, because it can be very frightening. It's something you're not used to. We are training our humanity, our humans, to be very bigoted to each other. If we're bigoted to each other, how are we ever going to accept, acknowledge, and be open with and communicate with other races of beings in our universe, not our solars, but in our universe? How are we going to even get to the stage of where we can have communication if we're doing this to each other? It's not just about there's beauty in everything. In some fashion or form, there's beauty in everything and in everyone and in every species and in every race. I can see the beauty in everything, whether I like different things or not. There is the beauty in different things. It's really, we've got to be more open-minded. Hate is not the way to go. Anger is not the way to go. It's the easy way to go. That's not okay. I know I'm doing the a lot. It's just I am tired and not feeling the greatest, but I said I would do this, and I want to be sure that I follow through with what I say I'm going to do. If I'm not able to be here, there's a very damn good reason. So we have to be more open. We have to be more open-minded. If we're so close-minded, how are we going to be out in the universe communicating with other beings? How long is it going to take us to get there? I mean, I already know we're there because I already know humans are out there. I already know we are. I've seen them. I have seen people and met people that are human beings that I knew from childhood, that I knew from my teen years, that I now know as adults, that were on board ship. Do they know they're abductees? Yes, they do. Well, and I think that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, we've got to be. I already know we're out there. I already know by my own experiences what I've experienced myself, what I've witnessed other people experience, and what I've witnessed being on a stinking freaking table. Turned my head and there's a yeah, okay. There's a human being, you know. There's another kid, or there's another teenager, or oh my God, there's another adult, and they're having work being done on them, whatever the work is. Or we're being taught, or we're being trained, or tested. So we've got to be more open to acknowledging and taking in and dealing with the ETs and the ET situation and the population that is on and on this planet, in this planet, around this planet. And we've got to stop being so detrimental and so negative about it. Eventually, we do. I know that I have psychically seen different timelines where we do allow conversation, very much like TV show Star Trek, very much like that, where we do have eventually over hundreds of years time, but it takes a long time. I will say the human population, and it's going to be going right back into, well, you can't classify the entire population that way. No. But we are all trained in some fashion or form to be very bigoted about ETs, and they're always out to hurt us. And, well, no, they're actually not. And to consistently say that they're all out to get us, you're full of shit. You are full of shit if you are promoting that on a regular basis. Do you know that for a fact? Do you have that as experiences, as your personal experiences, where every one of them is out to hurt you and out to get you and out to do damage to you? Do you have any positive experiences whatsoever? I've got all three. I've got the good, the bad, and the And that's how I say it. It's usually I got the good, the bad, and the So I've had really good experiences. I've also had shocking experiences that turned into good experiences. Shocking, for example, having the back part of my tongue dealt with, having literally the upper back part of the roof of my mouth shaved off and removed and opened up, back part of my throat opened up, and my eustachian tube removed, replaced with their own tissue. I don't know what kind of tissue they freaking used, but I know it's been done. No, I wasn't awake for that. Chris just said, oh, I wouldn't want to be awake for that. No, I wasn't. I knew I was getting taken. I had the specific ringing in my left ear. That's because I've got a device that is not somehow it's not seen on CAT scans or MRIs, but I've got something in or on around and I get a piercing pitch in my left ear. And anytime I get that, I can usually count. It used to be I could count on up to 2 weeks and I'll get taken. No. No. It's anywhere from 6 hours to 7 days and I get taken. So I knew I was going to get taken, and I was like, okay, what the hell are they going to do to me this time? Or what am I going to be doing for them this time? or what have I agreed to be doing? And they came. I knew that they were here, and I'm like, can you please just let me see? I know you're here. I can feel you. I can sense you. And they tried to make me go to sleep, and I'm like, oh, I just finally said, fuck it. Don't even bother. I'm going to do anything I can to stay awake so that you can't take me. And they're like, would you please come? I finally got told, would you please come? And I'm like, are you asking me to go lay down? And I hear yes. And I'm like, thank you. At least you're communicating with me now. I got kind of snotty about it. I'm kind of sarcastic. And I'm like, ask me. Don't just freaking show up and do inject me with something or take blood out. I had blood off the top of my arm the other day. And I was like, I have not scratched. I have not. Where the hell did that come? And come to find out, I wiped it. Teeny tiny freaking pinhole. No mosquitoes in the house. No nothing. And I'm like, and I look at it and I'm like, and it was a vein. They went after a vein. And I'm like, you could have fucking asked me. You could have freaking asked me. But no. And I've had other times where they literally froze me while I'm sitting here, and I'm like, wait a minute, why can't I move my head? Why can't I sit back? Why? What is? And they're like, you are being given an inoculation. Hey, Black Dragon. Hey, sweetie. And I'm like, an inoculation? What the hell for? You're like, you'll eventually find out. We're not telling. That's not exactly how it was said. They're usually very clear, concise, orderly, legalistic with me, and it's just like, why am I being given an inoculation? Well, it had to do with COVID. I was like, I freaked the fuck out. I was not okay with this. I was like, why are you inoculating me? I lost my ever freaking loving mind. I got up and I got woozy. And I mean, like, not lightheaded. I got woozy from the injection. And they're like, you need to stay seated. And I'm like, how long? And they're like, we want you to stay down for a little while before you get it. I sat back down. God, I was pissed. I was not. So it's that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, it's like they don't want to have me. And see, their version of me as a little child was me screaming my freaking head off when I saw them. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that now. You're going to shock me by standing there in front of me. I mean, I had one not very long ago, in the last 7 to 9 days, 7 to 10 days. I had one walk through, and they were in this like a invisible cloak, and it's like they poked their head over, and I saw the from like essentially tits area up. You know, if it were a woman, wasn't, but it was a guy. It was a male, and I cut out a corner of my eye, and I look over, and they're standing there, coming through because I wasn't in my bedroom at the time, and then it was like this. It's like shimmer, but not a shimmer, a cloak, but not quite a cloak. And I went, well, are you going to come in and have a seat? And I'm like, yeah, it's probably a good thing no doctor is seeing me during this time. I mean, like, you know, standing here because they're going to think I'm stark raving freaking Looney Tunes, and I'm not. I go through ET abductions. I go through psychic. God, the psychics, between all of it, it's like, seriously, I chose this for this lifetime? Are you freaking kidding me? I still question that. Anyway, I'm off on the subject. So, I'm like, well, what are you going to do to me this time? I'm like, you going to come in, show yourself to me, have a seat, sit down? Yeah, came in, stood around, hear click, 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 because they're communicating. I didn't even know that there were two of them. I didn't even, and I had a conversation, very one-sided conversation, but they were here. I was in bed at the time. It's a different situation. So I was in bed at one time, and I was like, well, I want to start seeing you guys. You're going to have to do this in a gradual sense. Now they're just taking too long. Now I'm going to bitch about it because now they're just taking too long. So I know when they're around now, because I was having problems sensing them before. Now I'm not having problems sensing them. I'm starting to see them in this different visual way. Uh, the clicking I've always heard. The it's a very specific kind of clicking, and there's only I know Dave Scott has done it on his show a couple of times, but it's not quite the right tone. He's real close with it, but it's not quite the right tone and intensity and quickness of it. There's somebody who, and I can't remember who the hell, it's been so long, but there's somebody that actually can make that sound and sound real freaking close. It's so close, in fact, that it actually makes my stomach drop. And like out of fear, it's that fear factor thing that hits. So they'll click, but and I'm like, okay, do I have the fan going on? Is the fan clicking? Is it this? Is it that? And I'll go through all the logical sequential order of, oh my God, it's this, it's that. I'll go down a list of things, and it's not any of them, and it's still clicking. And I'll even get up and I'm like, oh duh, it's the ETs. What the hell? I'm like, what are you doing here? Why now? I didn't hear any. So it's just, it is what it is. I told him, I said, I want to start seeing you visually. You're gonna show up anyway. Why not just, well, we don't want to scare you. And I'm like, I'm not that 7-year-old little girl anymore. I'm a lot more welcoming unless we have a disagreement. Well, and then they're like, well, if we disagree, they're using my words. That's not how they, if we disagree, then I just get knocked out. I mean, I understand that. And there are certain things that I've actually, they will actually listen to me now regarding when I get brought back. I'm like, you're going to physically make me ill, literally cause me to be sick every time you bring me back, and it's winter time. The air outside is ice freaking cold. I'm not in clothing, or I'm not in enough clothing to where I'm going to stay warm. I used to shiver every time I came back, and it got to the point to where I'd shiver so badly that my teeth would start chattering. And if you've ever been out in the snow in a swimsuit, it's worse than that. Like actually, swimming in snow in a swimsuit, it's worse than that. And you literally, your internal organs, literally, all the blood goes from your limbs to your organs to try to keep you warm, and you still can't. And I'm like, you are making me ill. You cannot do that. It finally got to them that I was like, oh, it wasn't me saying no, it was them. But it finally got across to them, look, if you're going to bring me back, you have to make my mind and there have been times where my skin will be ice cold in the wintertime, where my skin will be ice cold, but my mind thinks my body is warm. So I'm still getting proper blood flow through my veins in my limbs, and my neck and my head, and I don't go into crisis mode. But it took them the longest freaking time to get that across to them, for them to understand that they were literally causing me to become ill. And that's not what they want. I was like, finally, aha, ah. That one moment where they finally got it, I was just like so happy I finally got something through to them. And then after that was really when they started listening to me. And granted, I wasn't doing as much fighting, and because we were actually communicating to where they were getting what they wanted, but I was getting what I wanted, I think that's where the dynamics for me started to shift in a lot of my relationship time with them. And it created a lot of more positivity than negativity. Excuse me. Because I really, with all the pregnancies and stuff, I mean, granted, the last, I was trying to think about that, the last 3 pregnancies have been a trip and a half. Let's just say that. The last 3 hybrid pregnancies, wow, were they were a real trip. The third one was when I was fighting. I had my infant in my hands, and I was like, bring it on. And I had a Laborian come up behind me, stand, and his legs, just like my head was on his balls. I don't know how else to say that, because he's so tall, and my head was, and I'm 5'3", 5'2.5", 5'3". My head was essentially on his balls, or where his balls would be on a human male. And literally a hand comes down, and he's like, Nikki, you need to calm down. You're going to upset the baby. And and the baby was fine. Baby was like, this is my mama. I'm staying here. And we're just a happy camper. And, baby was fine. But this was him coming in and going, if you don't stop, they're going to knock you out and you will fall with the baby. And that was when I was like, I'm leaving this ship with my child. You are not going to stop me. I don't know how I'm getting off of here, but you are not going to fucking stop me from leaving without my child. And so it was after that incident, and after man, I put up a fight too. And even when my friend came up behind me and told me what he did and tried to calm me down, it was quite the experience. And he had said, Nikki, you need to basically, you need to stop. And he's like, I don't want to see them to force you to stop. And I knew what that meant. I knew exactly what that meant, and I'm not going to describe what that means. That's very private. So after that, the pregnancies were very different, the last two. So, uh, didn't expect the tears. Sorry. So that's what took place. That's how I dealt with it. I basically handed over, and that was a son. That was a male child. The one after that was a female, and then the one after that, my last one, was a male. And so a nursemaid had walked up to me, and she knew I wasn't ready to let go of my child. And she just stood there and waited with a smile on her face. And you got to remember the nursemaids, they ranged in height from about 4 feet tall, 4 foot 10 inches, up to about 5'5". This one was a shorter one, which meant that she was shorter than me. I don't think she was 4'10". I think she was more like 5 feet, 4'11", 5 foot, somewhere around there. Which meant that she was there for newborns. The shorter ones are usually there for the newborns, the nursemaids. And she just stood there waiting until I was ready to release. And then the second I handed my child over to her, I was knocked out. The second that kid, I was gone. I mean, I was gone. But I remember still my friend standing behind me, my ET friend standing behind me, and I just automatically knew he would catch me. I knew that I wouldn't, I would be okay. But I had what the hell? I had no idea how the hell I was getting off of that ship, with my child. I knew I was on board a craft. I knew I had my child, and I was clothed. I was in their clothing, which this fat body and their clothing, and I can't even describe their clothing. I don't even know how to describe it. There are times where I've been in their clothing and it's like a second skin. And none of your vajayjay don't show, your nipples don't show. It's like a second skin. And the same way with guys. I've seen the guys that way too. Humans in whatever this cloth is material, it just automatically forms to your body. But anyway, I knew that because he was standing behind me that he was going to catch me. That I wouldn't be harmed, although they were going to end up having a hell of a conversation about what just happened, because I wanted to take my son home and I wanted to raise him, and they were like, "That's not happening." We're essentially, it was without them saying it, we're raising him. He's is like their property, and I am here to tell you, boy, does that piss you off. A being is not property. But that is the attitude. That is the feeling of this specific group of ETs, that these hybrids are theirs. Period. Oh, it's a helicopter going overhead. That was a low flying helicopter and a heavily weighted down one. Wow, okay. Sorry, I know my machinery. So anyway, yeah, it was interesting. They're very, very specific in how they deal with the hybrids and what they want them doing. And the souls of the hybrids are very much, this is what we want to do. And they're very telepathic. The infant souls are very, very telepathic, at least the ones that I've had. I don't know about any other woman that has gone through this. I don't know what they say or what they claim for their experiences, but in my experiences, every one of my hybrid pregnancies, the souls have been very telepathic with me. In the 1990s, did I recognize that? Because I'm going to get asked this eventually by my family. Did I recognize that that I was pregnant with a soul? No, I knew I was pregnant, but I didn't recognize that soul was being telepathic with me. I literally thought it was spirit being telepathic with me, how spirit would talk to me. So I wasn't registering and recognizing the differentiation between the two. That makes sense. So it's taken a long time to not just put things together, piece things together, but to make some major realizations. And when I started making realizations about the pregnancies and about the then I started having, the infants were being a lot more telepathic with, oh my God, a lot more telepathic with me. And I loved it. I just, I treasure it. And that's why I say now that if they're not going to have me pregnant anymore because of my own health, human health, that for whatever reason, I would appreciate it if they would fix, so that I can do that, because I do enjoy doing that. And it's 3 months at a time. For me anyway. I know other women it's very different. I know other women where they go through. I've been in groups where it's been talked about they go through full pregnancy. Well, 6, 7, 8 months. It's not the typical normal 9-month experience. So, but everybody's different, and with me, 3 months, once or twice a year, that's not bad, you know. Have I had miscarriages of the hybrids? Yeah. So I can talk about that, but I'm not going to have that conversation tonight. So anyway, we're supposed to talk about spirits. Kind of didn't really gravitate to there, so I will probably change this out to Atlantis and the ETs. Anyway, anybody got questions? There's 5 listening. I know some are multitasking and listening while they're multitasking, so I'll wait. So if you have any questions, let me know. But yeah, it's been rather an interesting experience. What I was going to say a moment ago was that I wouldn't mind continuing doing the hybrids for them, because I do enjoy the pregnancies and the different aspects of it and the bonding time. They have a specific bonding. I do miss the connection, but I appreciate the fact that the last 2 pregnancies they've allowed me to have communication with the infants through their life, even while they're in gestating in containers. And after they're birthed, I've been allowed to continuing to be allowed to have communication with them, with these children, after they are birthed, and from the time that they're learning and growing. And I haven't had communication with my son and daughter after they go out of school. They've stopped, the ETs have stopped the communication, and there's a reason for that, and I understand that. But it has meant a tremendous amount to me that they have allowed that. I wish that I could have had that all along. That would have made a major, major, major difference in my life. So anyway, so that's about my experiences with ETs and what I know and what I completely disagree with different people who are money grabbers and who are going after the money, talking about, oh, it's only the little ETs and they're all electronic. Bullshit. I don't call bullshit on that. It's such crap. Anyway, and on that note, we are at 2 hours 37 minutes. Sorry. And I need to go eat. Dinner, so get the rest of my vitamins down. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed what you've listened to. I will be on again on Wednesday. Technically, the wee morning hours of Thursday. So it's like somewhere between 12:15 a.m., 12:40 a.m. is where I will be on again after Spaced Out Radio. And I do that after Dave ends his show. Then that's what I after he ends, I open up for chat. So and I'm not sure about my normal Wednesday afternoons. That's just become too much of a day for me. So I don't know if I'm going to be doing Fridays now. I will still continue with a 1 or 2 hour. Thank you. Much love to you guys too. You're welcome, Christine. And Black Dragon. You're very welcome. Chris says, thank you, Nikki. Take care of yourself. Great seeing you again. Loved it. I hadn't caught you live in a while due to sleep or work. And Black Dragon says, much love to you. And so does Derek. Thank you. I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you, you three. Thank you. Yes, Derek says SOR Roundtable, Spaced Out Radio Roundtable is tonight. Good. It'll be good to listen to. Yeah, I'm going to go zone out for a little bit, get some protein in, and get the rest of the pills down. The rest of the vitamins down, and take a nap. I don't know. I might do that. I might take a nap. Anyway, and folks are going to be gone tomorrow, so I will probably be sorting and going through boxes that I've got stacked over on my dining room table. I know Chris was talking about downsizing. That's what I'm doing. We're bringing in boxes from the storage unit, and I'm going through them and getting rid of crap and decreasing stuff and all of that. So I got quite a haul to do, quite a long thing to do. So I will be doing that this weekend. If I'm up for it, I will probably do a live after somebody else gets done with their show. But I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. I got to be feeling better. So anyway, take good care, guys. I very much appreciate you. Thank you for coming in and sticking around and listening. Anyway, take good care. Bye. Stay positive. Oh, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Anyway, take good care. Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.